guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 55 years old. He has 2 kids, boy and a girl, been married for a number of years. And he's going to share his story, how he, as a young man in his 20s, came to this country as a refugee and really made something of himself. This guy came here probably with very little at all and still busted his butt, moved his way up to get to the point where he got a job in the tech industry, working his tail off for years, and he really made something of himself in this country, which is awesome. In that time period, he's built wealth. He owns a number of properties and a lot of money, and also he's become very RP'd and learned quite well through his own eyes how things are here in the United States with the courts, the family courts, the system, how things are towards men, and also, last but not least, the attitude of modern American women. And he has a son who's old enough now in his 20s, and he's warned his son about these things. And recently you're going to see that his son wants to get married. And he pretty much said, okay, you'll have my blessing, but you're getting a prenup. You're getting a prenup for these reasons I've learned, and in doing so, you'll get some things from me, which you'll see. And you're going to see, guys, how this whole thing unfolds with the prenup, his son, the girl this guy was going to marry, all that. Quite entertaining. And it just goes to show you how it's so important, guys, to have this knowledge I talk about here. For if you're a father watching this, or an uncle or grandfather, to share this with the younger guys, your kids, your grandkids, to help become more aware, because you do not want them to what happens to so many guys to happen to them, especially if you got some money. But before I get into this entertaining tale and how things go with regards to the prenup and that girl and all that, I'm going to read a quick email I got from a subscriber this morning. Popped up. He had a quick question for me in the community, and I thought I'd read it here real quick as a little starter here that you guys can help this guy out, answer his question. This is regards to the old girls make rules for the nice guys and break rules for the bad boys. He says here, Dear SSM, you always say girls break the rules for the bad boys. My question is, how do you know she's breaking the rules for you, or if that is who she really is? Let me tell you about events that happened recently. I started seeing this girl recently. We've been out on a couple of dates, just one per week. And that is the only time that we see each other. On the last date, I walked her home, and it was late, and she said I could sleep over. She said we couldn't have the you-know-what, as she needed to have an emotional connection with someone first. Yeah, how many times have you guys heard a girl say that? You're not getting any tonight. Meanwhile, you're like, sure. The date was the first time we kissed, and she was super awkward about getting changed with me there. Though not long later, she asked when was the last time I got tested was. She told me that she hadn't slept with anyone for over a year, and that it had been with her ex-boyfriend. She said she was up to play around a little, but again, she said no sex, and that took her and her ex 7 months to have the you-know-what. 7 months? No guy should be waiting 7 months, let alone 7 weeks, to be hooking up. At that point, it's like, see ya. I smell a test, do you? After some foreplay with me going down, she changed her mind and asked if I wanted to fuck. She insisted that we use condoms, but the ones she had were too small, so she said we couldn't have you-know-what. I didn't have any on me, as I wasn't expecting us to hook up, as said this date was the first time we'd ever kissed. Not long after that, she changed her mind, and over the course of the night and the following morning, we had you-know-what 5 times. 5 times, oh man, you got a lot of energy. I definitely think she likes me, but how can I tell if she was breaking the rules for me, or was she just putting on a good girl act? Couple extra details is that she is 22, originally from Africa, and a regular churchgoer. Thanks, and keep up the good work, SSM. Okay, well, I'm not there to see her or observe the situation, but based on what you're telling me here, I think it's one of 2 things. Either A, she actually is the quote-unquote good girl type, but for whatever reason, you did it for her, and she broke the rules and hooked up with you right then and there. That's what I think. Or B, this is actually who she is, in the sense that she'll come off as the good girl type and lay out these rules and all that, but really it's just a test. It's a test to see how you react and respond. Are you going to pressure her and make her feel uncomfortable? Well, then it's not going to work. You're not going to get what you want. Or B, when she says pretty much, we're not going to hook up or anything like that, or I wait 7 months or 11 months, whatever the hell it is, and if you would have buckled and been like, oh, no, it's not what I meant, or anything like that, and played the nice guy thing, then it wouldn't work. But because you were cool about it, you're like, okay, go with the flow, no problem. She felt comfortable with you. She felt safe. She felt at ease. And therefore, one thing led to another and you hooked up. So it's one of two things. Either she definitely has rules for everybody else, the nice guys, but there's something about you that turned her on and she broke her rules, hence all the hooking up, even though she said she wasn't going to do that. Or, in actuality, this is just an act. She claims to be the good girl. Ha there. But in reality, because you didn't pressure her, she felt at ease, and you didn't back away or anything like that. Like, oh no, I didn't want to sleep with you. Some bullshit like that nice guys would do. She felt comfortable, safe, and you hooked up. So there you go. So flip a coin, could have been either one. But the bottom line is, you hooked up with this girl, so good for you. Now just be safe and don't be stupid about it, and there you go. Now, guys, on to the main event, the main story here, which you guys will definitely enjoy. It says here, hello, SSM. Before I continue with my story, I truly want to thank you for what you are doing. Boys and even men really need to hear a lot of what you are trying to teach. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. A little bit of a background story about me first. I'm from a different country. I migrated here about 30 years ago as a refugee. I worked 60 to 80 hours a week to make a future for myself, and I did just that. I'm very successful within the technology field. Bro, that is awesome. Good for you. Came here probably next to nothing, and you made something. You worked your ass off. Right there. 60, 80 hours a week. You probably did this for a very, very long time. You think your average American nowadays, born into a comfortable family, would be willing to do that? Oh, hell no, because these little brats are spoiled by their parents and feel entitled to the world. But this guy came here and made something of himself. He did what he had to do, and he made something. He was smart about it. Awesome. We need more of you. He says here, I'm very successful within the technology field. So he worked his tail off and moved into the tech area. Cool. In 2 decades' time, I bought 3 properties for myself, and as of this moment, all of them have been paid for. Sweet. When I decided to get married, I completely refused to get married to a Western girl, primarily here in America. No offense. Dude, no offense taken here. We all know what American women are like, what Western women are like nowadays, and what they've been like for quite some time. I went back to my country and found a pretty lady, and after a good 6 years, we got married the first day she moved to the States, and I had her sign a prenup with no surprises. She agreed without any hesitation. There you go. Found a woman from the old country. Knew her for 6 years. 6 years, guys. Prenup right away. So way to go. Now, yes, prenups can have their issues depending on the judge and all these other things, but I think this guy was probably very smart about it. Let's fast forward the clock a bit. SSM, I'm 55 years old, and I retired still with my wife and 2 kids, a son and a daughter. I 100% believe in my old values that America used to have. That's how I raised my 2 kids, and believe I did a good job at it. That's great. My son is R-pilled as they come, and he took my advice and listened to everything that I taught him. And the only thing he did not listen to is he found himself a girl right here in the West. Let's call her Kelly. I was completely against it, which he knew really well. 5 years into dating, things started getting serious between them and eventually led to him to propose. Smack! At the end of the day, most of my watchers here are Americans. And a lot of you guys, whether you want to admit it or not, are going to be married one day and you're going to propose to American girls. But I had to squeeze a smack in there somewhere. Well, dude, you did your best to RP him as much as you could, but if he's going to find a chick he likes here in the States, he's going to find a chick he likes here in the States. But you'll see what happens here. I was completely against it, which he knew well. 5 years into dating, they got serious and it led him to propose. Her parents were really good people, and I got along with them well. When my son proposed, I knew getting married is right around the corner. I had one more chat with my son to make sure this is what he really wanted, and after a very long chat, I told him as a gift, I would give him one of my properties and $100,000 to help him settle down and create himself a small nest egg for the future. Holy shit, that's some serious generosity. Giving him a property and $100,000 to build a nest egg going for the future. That's a lot for a young guy. I'm going to imagine he's a pretty responsible, respectful young man. I wouldn't have gone that far. Maybe a house or a nest egg to get things rolling, but, you trust your instincts. The only one thing I asked for in return was a prenup to be signed between them. There you go. Very smart. He brought this up with his girlfriend Kelly, and to my surprise, she agreed. Sure about that? A year later was when they were going to be getting married. 2 days before the big day, I gave my son the prenup and told him to make sure she signs it before the big day. Needless to say, when he showed her the prenup, she did not want to sign it. Bait and switch, gentlemen. And started to give an excuse of how it was not necessary, how she loved my son, and she would never ever leave him or do anything to betray his trust. Now right there as I read that, I'm sure thousands of guys across the world that have been married and divorced and heard the same bullshit are just either laughing out loud, throwing something, or rolling their eyes at that, no. Now the question is, why wasn't the prenup signed much earlier, as opposed to like a couple days before the wedding? She probably thought he'd change his mind. She probably at the moment figured, I'll go along with this, and I'll change his mind at the last minute. Or he won't ask me to do that. He's not serious. Needless to say, she didn't want to sign it, blah, blah, blah. She loved my son so much. Without hesitating, my son canceled the wedding and dumped her right there. Damn, now that is the R pillin coming out in your son. Very smart. Could have been easy, but it's not worth it. She did the bait and switch. It didn't take long for her and her family to start calling me, and Kelly's mother started sending me messages of how disgusting of a man I was, and I need to pack up and go back to my country. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Because of this, now you're the bad guy, you're disgusting, and you need to go back to your foreign land. Meanwhile, you came here and made more of yourself in one lifetime than probably typical people born here for 10 generations would never accomplish. And they're pissed off, being emotional, telling you to go back to your country. Talking about a bunch of fucking assholes. Hey, the daughter agreed to the prenup, right? We all heard it. And then when it was time to sign it, she wouldn't do it. He had every right to end it with her. 1 month later, it goes on to say, I just simply blocked her, and I was not going to waste my time with that woman. Of course, Kelly then started sending me messages saying how misogynistic I am and how I didn't deserve to be in this country. Doubling down on that. How is this misogynistic? He's protecting his son and his story. Last time I checked, prenups have been going on for a while, whether they actually work most of the time or not, but still they've been going on for a while. But because it happened to her, now he's misogynistic and he needs to leave the country. What a big baby. Your son dodged a big one, my friend. He says, 1 month later, I get a knock on my door, and sure enough, it was the father. To my surprise, he apologized to me about how his daughter and wife were acting. Notice these stories is always the women that get all wacko about things, the dump bride, the dump fiance, and the mother. But it's always the father that apologizes for his daughter's actions and stuff like that. And by the way, guys, English is not this guy's first language, so there's the punctuation here. There's a lot of run-on sentences, so I'm trying my best to read this here. No offense, bro, but it's a little hard to read. It says here, the chat wasn't very long, and I thanked him, and we went our own separate ways. My son had a very long conversation with me. He told me how I was right about everything. I told him to continue working on himself and keep improving. He's following my footsteps, and he is on his way to gain his master's in computer science. Well, good for your son. Now, you didn't mention how old your son is here when he was supposed to get married, but I'm guessing probably pretty young, probably early to mid-20s at best, which is way too freaking young in my opinion. I've made that quite clear. Your son should be probably, if he's going to get married, which I certainly don't think he's going to do, rush into anytime soon, or even think twice about after this whole thing, late 20s, close to 30, while he's making something himself. Right now, he said he's working on his master's for computer science. Good. I did a video the other day about this guy who his girlfriend ended up cheating on him, his wife cheated on him and dumped him when he was on his purpose trying to make something of himself, and his career wasn't going fast enough, so she cheated on him and divorced him. And then after she did that, then success came his way. Women don't want to be with a guy who's struggling. They want the guy at the finish line that has successful and all that. So if you're a young guy, your son here is on his grind, just like you were, to make something of himself in this world. He doesn't need a wife holding him back, because a guy needs to dedicate his time, all his energy to his purpose, to making something of himself, particularly in his 20s when that is really required to move up in a company, or maybe say he was an attorney. He started off as an associate, bust his ass to eventually become partner or start his own business, not having a wife and dealing with all that, or even a serious girlfriend. For you guys out there that are young, I said this in the other video, maybe you heard this. You're a young guy in your 20s on your grind, on your purpose. Take a break from the girls. There are going to be plenty of girls around. And you don't need them to hold you back, because even you got a girl that's very much on your side, that thinks what you're doing is awesome, that your grind is awesome, that your ambition is awesome. Still, she's going to want your time and energy. She's going to want to see you a couple times a week. She's going to talk to you on the phone, text, all that, when you could be grinding away at your purpose. So you can have girls later on in life. So do not allow your son to rush into any relationship anytime soon. Let this be a lesson. Anyway, it says here, SSM, I've been in this country for a good 45 years now. I have seen many of my friends get roasted through the system. And sadly, I've had 2 friends who couldn't take it anymore and ended their own lives. If there's one thing I've learned from living in the U.S. is that getting married here as a man is literally suicide. 60%, is that the number nowadays, of marriages here in the U.S. of A. end up in divorce? 60%. And the ones that don't get divorced, do they look very happy to you? They're usually ranging from just being bored roommates that hook up on occasion for a release to absolutely hating each other's guts. Only a small percentage are actually married, stay married, and actually really do love each other and have a good thing going. That's rare. And to those people, awesome. I wish there were more people like that, but it's so rare. And the guys that get divorced get just raked over the fucking coals. It's not worth it. Not at least until things change. With men like you, SSM, I truly hope our young men can finally start to learn and see the system for what it is, completely against men. This is my experience here in the United States. I hope this video makes the cut. Take care. Well, bro, it's a quick story, but I appreciate you sending it in. I'm glad. Again, great job. You came here and made something of yourself. That is awesome. I really respect that. And I hope that your son and daughter do the same thing. But a really good story here. And again, that took balls of your son to just whoosh, not happening. Call the whole thing off because of the prenup. But then again, what if she accepted it and they got married? And then her true colors came out. And then they divorced. And maybe you got some judge that ignored the prenup. So things worked out. Good story here. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, you got a great story like to share, by all means, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just give me some time to get to it, and I definitely will down the road. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.